Senator Banks, you've been indulgent, and the chair will be indulgent with you on your questions.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Sankar, what kind of a difference would it make if we gave the combatant commands their own acquisition authority?
I think it is the single biggest difference that we can make here. The Department of Defense is the only institution I know of that divides up supply and demand. The integration of supply and demand is the beating heart of any company, that consensus driving process. The COCOMs handle the demand, real world events, the services, man, train, equip. They provide the supply. That would work if we really thought every COCOM and all needs were perfectly knowable and unitary across space and time here. But actually, all of our advantage comes from the fact that we might need slightly different things, and the signal for where that comes from is the combatant commander. So how do we give the people closest to the fight the ability to express a little bit of competitive demand signal? 90% of what you want is probably coming from the services, but that 10% gap is what's going to make or break us in that fight. How do we give them a little bit of budget, a little bit of authority, an ability to break the monopsony and introduce something like a free market where there's multiple demand signals coming? And if we go back to a world where, like, how did we have a world where every service was competing to build an ICBM? Well, maybe a COCOM commander should decide whether the Navy or the Air Force has the better idea and concept for their specific force employment or the emergent needs that they're actually seeing. And I think that competition will get us all to be better.
Seems like common sense. Why aren't we doing that already?
I think having the luxury of having won the Cold War is we view that as duplication. We view that as wasteful. Why can't we just pick the right answer up front? I think our system is exquisitely designed to solve all problems that can be solved deductively, top down. We can think our way through it. But the promise of America is that there's so much messiness. It's all inductive. Our system is very, very bad. It's poorly set up currently to find the things you got to reason your way through. You got to experience it, roll up your sleeves, get dirty, and realize new insights as a consequence of doing that. I think we solve that by giving a little bit of strategic autonomy to the COCOM commanders to buy what they need and to build what they need.
So play that out. How would the services and the defense agencies react if they had to compete with another buyer?
Well, I think like most people, don't really like competition. Of course, a part of that's going to be a threat. But I think if you get past the initial hysteresis you'll have, the next step from that is, okay, well, how do I actually change what I'm building so that the COCOM commander wants what I'm building? That's where we're going to start to get the leverage from that. I can think about it as this is also the idea around competing programs and competing program managers that I saw in the Forged Act, where if we have, what is the incentive for a program manager to adopt new commercial approaches that actually disrupts their existing program? So I think today's incentive with a unitary effort is deny, pretend it doesn't exist, block it, versus actually I'm competing against another great American one corridor down. I want to be the first person to adopt the disruptive technology so that I can win.
Do you have a good example where the combatant command's lack of acquisition authority caused delays or even hurt the mission?
Well, I think you could look at the success of Project Maven, which really didn't come from the services. People love to deride OSD level efforts as bureaucratic or, not sustainable. But that innovation really came from the 18th Airborne. It came from CENTCOM. It came from EUCOM. It came from the Afghan NEO. It came from the emerging demand signal in the world, the crisis that had to be responded to, the learning that could only happen there, folded in capabilities that ultimately scaled to the force.
Mr. Gertz, program managers in the private sector are obviously paid more than government employees. They also get bonuses and stock options for good performance. But in DoD, the uniformed military personnel and civilians managing our critical weapons programs get paid the same whether they deliver or not. Do you think the limited pay for performance system that the DoD has tried has worked?
My experience, both personally and professionally, is it's not a pay issue. The high majority of program managers want to deliver an operationally relevant capability for the warfighter. They are just mired in a bunch of distractions, a bunch of outside stakeholder. Many more people can say no than can say yes. And so they spend 90% of their time managing the bureaucracy, not managing the effort. And then I think the other piece is we've got to also get to the point to be innovative. You have to start things quickly. We also have to be able to kill things quickly. And for lots of different reasons, and I think that's one of the challenges if you give COCOMs acquisition authority, we'll start a lot of things, but if we can't kill the things that aren't performing for whatever reason, then you won't have a highly functioning adaptive system.
Well put. I yield back.